This circus clown can give you some perspective if you're feeling down about your life. He essentially works as a punching bag, and because he lacks a name and appears less than human, he is referred to as the Hunchback. Despite his difficult life, he has a crush on the acrobat Lorelei, and his interest in her is partly because he's fascinated by the human body. To escape from his challenging reality, he studies anatomy using stolen books. Surprisingly, he also acts as the company doctor, treating the very people who kick and punch him, which is quite a mystery. One night at the circus, there's a terrible accident right after Barnaby introduces Lorelei. A rope snaps, and she takes a bad fall. The Hunchback quickly goes to help. Luckily, there's a doctor in the audience who notices a serious injury. He says Lorelei's bone is pressing on her lungs, but there's not much he can do without proper tools. The Hunchback asks for his pocket watch and skillfully fixes the bone, saving her life. The young doctor is amazed and realizes the Hunchback is no ordinary clown. However, the circus owner, Barnaby, doesn't seem pleased. The doctor suggests the Hunchback leave the circus, saying his skills are wasted here. Lorelei is taken away on a makeshift gurney, and before the doctor leaves, the Hunchback asks for his name, which turns out to be Victor Frankenstein. Surprisingly, nobody is shocked to hear it because he's not famous yet. As soon as Barnaby leaves the tent, he angrily throws all the science books into a puddle. He's furious at the Hunchback for daring to dream of a different life. Barnaby locks the clown back in his room, revealing it's actually a cage. When Shidley asks about Lorelei, the ringleader cruelly mocks him. Victor returns with some magic tricks, using a magnet to open the padlock. The clown warns they might get in trouble, and indeed Barnaby quickly catches up, threatening the doctor for stealing circus property. As Barnaby gathers more employees to chase them, the crowd wonders if it's real or just another stunt. Victor decides to set fire to the tent. When they reach the arena, they find themselves surrounded. However, Barnaby arrives, and they seem to vanish into thin air. The observant clown sees through the illusion and finds the secret passageway used by the magician. The man is now scared, not because he's with Victor Frankenstein in the streets of London at night, but because he's never been outside the circus. Grateful for his freedom, he doesn't know what to do. Victor takes him to his new home, trading the circus for a mad scientist's lab. However, Victor hasn't freed him out of kindness. He needs an assistant, and this one is pre-trained and cheap. Victor grabs him and inserts a giant needle into a neglected abscess on his back. Surprisingly, he was never a real hunchback. The painful and disgusting procedure quickly removes the deformity. Victor says the easy part is over, but the former hunchback already misses Barnaby. Victor runs towards him, pushing him against a pillar, violently correcting his posture. He'll need to wear a back brace to keep everything in place. Victor gestures vaguely towards a guest room, indicating that he'll be in the basement for the night. Before departing, he introduces the roommate, Igor Straussman, a morphine addict rarely at home. This provides a convenient opportunity for a new identity. Henceforth, the clown adopts the name Igor, ensuring a coherent narrative if questioned. While Igor has much to learn about basic hygiene and polite society, his innate ability as a good student shines through. Following a thorough shower and shave, he transforms into a charming and sophisticated young woman. Meanwhile, back at the circus, Inspector Turpin discusses the case with his apprentice, Alistar. They review Barnaby's account of the previous night's events, recognizing that much of it lacks truth. Notably, the fabricated part involves Victor robbing a substantial amount of money from the safe and committing murder. Turpin speculates on the missing details, suggesting that this might even be a case of self-defense. Nevertheless, he proceeds to commission a sketch for a "wanted for murder" sign, deeming it a better portrayal of those peculiar eyes. The upside is that they're searching for an individual with a spinal deformity, which conveniently won't lead them to Victor's abode, where a well-dressed and refined gentleman resides. With his host occupied at school until dinner, Igor seizes the chance to explore London. His visit to the hospital, where he checks on Laurel, reveals the dismal treatment of patients. His muse lies alongside others, seemingly awaiting a collective burial. Amusingly, the nurse entertains Igor's treatment suggestions involving costly items from the drugstore, made more palatable by a discreet coin slipped into her hand. Despite having just secured a promotion, Igor seems to be taking on the role of a burgeoning sugar daddy. Simultaneously, Inspector Turpin is getting closer to Dr. Frankenstein. He discovers that animal parts were stolen from the London Zoo 6 months ago, and a similar incident happened at the veterinary academy. Turpin instructs Alistar to open the bag found at the circus grounds, revealing a severed lion paw. Victor's presence at the animal's death makes things worse for the doctor. Inspector Turpin, a religious man, takes the case personally. Later that evening, Victor finds Igor upset because their pictures are all over town. Unconcerned, Victor reassures him, saying they are looking for the old Igor, not the current one. During dinner, Victor imparts some table manners and shares more about himself. Bored with the Royal College of Medicine, he confesses to having a few side hobbies. Victor shows Igor one experiment involving eyes in jelly connected to peculiar equipment, brought to life with electrical shocks. Igor is amazed, and they start working on various strange projects together in the lab. After a breakthrough a few weeks later, they celebrate at a restaurant. Lorelei, who has moved in with a rich baron as a cover, joins them. Victor, in a drunken state, can't stop boasting about his intellect, making him no threat. Lorelei enjoys Igor's company. Returning home, the heavily intoxicated Victor reveals his most radical experiment, Gordon, a mosaic chimpanzee made from parts of different animals. Using some of Igor's insights, Victor successfully reanimates Gordon. He then presents his findings at the Royal College, where he encounters Finnegan, a college rival, in the audience. Initially struggling to replicate Gordon's feats, Victor faces Finnegan's amusement. Lorelei, invited by Igor, appears nauseated, contrary to Victor's expectations. In a mature reaction, Victor begins assaulting the machines, inadvertently shocking Gordon back to life. This time, however, the creature is not pleased to have its nap disturbed and attacks the audience before making a hasty escape. Igor valiantly chases him, risking his life in the process. Upon capturing Gordon, Victor reluctantly heeds Igor's advice and terminates the project with a heavy object. Despite the fiasco, Igor expects Victor to come to his senses, but the opposite occurs. Victor becomes more determined than ever to make a significant impact in his field. To add insult to Igor's injuries, Finnegan apologizes for misjudging his colleagues, impressed by their work. The wealthy Finnegan offers substantial funding for more experiments. Victor eagerly anticipates the financial support, promising to deliver a fully functional human being. Despite Igor's desperate attempts to reason with him, Victor dismissively asks if he prefers returning to a life of obscurity in a cage. After scrutinizing Gordon's performance at the Royal College, Inspector Turpin pays a visit to Victor. Despite lacking a warrant, the inspector's suspicion of the scientist is heightened. Their conversation turns into a heated debate on religion, with Victor mocking the inspector's beliefs, solidifying an enmity between them. Meanwhile, Igor takes a stroll with Lorelei, expressing her discomfort with the kind of science involved in Gordon. She urges Igor to convince Victor to abandon these pursuits, acknowledging the fear of how far it has gone. Despite Igor's own reservations, Lorelei insists that he has always been kind and smart. Igor decides to speak with Victor and returns home to find another Frankenstein, Victor's father. He reveals that Victor has been expelled from the Royal College, leading to disappointment and blame. Mr. Frankenstein shares how Victor felt guilty for a tragic childhood accident that claimed his younger brother Henry's life. Now, Victor's actions have seemingly destroyed his own life. Eavesdropping on this conversation, Igor sees Victor deeply hurt by his father's words. Forgetful of his promise to Lorelei, Igor deviates from their plan and discusses the Prometheus project with Victor, suggesting a larger body with two hearts. Intrigued by the idea, Victor is revitalized. They construct the creature for Finnegan, using parts from graveyards and morgues. One day, while Victor examines a pocket watch, he reveals it belonged to his deceased younger brother Henry, who perished in a blizzard during childhood. Igor, ashamed for doubting Victor's innocence, realizes he has misunderstood the nature of the accident. As time passes, Prometheus nears completion. Taking an evening off, Igor relaxes and goes dancing with Lorelei. The night unfolds with Lorelei inviting him to witness her acrobatic talents, culminating in a shared intimate moment between them. In the morning, Igor's walk of shame takes a dramatic turn when he spots a crowd outside Victor's house led by Inspector Turpin. The policemen attempt to break down the door, prompting Igor to sneak in through the back to warn Victor. Together, they decide to destroy all evidence, but Turpin manages to enter before they can do so. In a struggle, Victor overpowers Turpin, and the inspector's hand becomes trapped in the machinery. Seizing the opportunity, Igor and Victor escape through a secret passage, finding a waiting carriage. Turpin witnesses their escape, noticing a distinctive family crest painted on the carriage door. The vehicle was sent by Finnegan, who, unaffected by their legal troubles, offers his family's castle in Scotland as a refugee for his criminal associates. However, Igor refuses, facing hurtful words from Victor, who takes full credit for Igor's contributions. After Victor leaves, Finnegan's goons ambush Igor, tying him up and covering his head with a bag. Uninterested in Igor's conscience, Finnegan only cares about the resurrection technology and its power. The goons throw Igor into the river, but growing up in a circus has equipped him with unexpected skills. He breaks free and swims to the surface, where Lorelei cares for him. Observing Victor's pocket watch in Igor's possession, he feels sympathy for Victor and realizes being his friend doesn't mean enabling his obsessions. Deciding to go after Victor, Igor fails to dissuade Lorelei from joining him. In Scotland, they find the heavily guarded castle. Lorelei distracts the guards while Igor slips past them. Just outside the gates, Turpin's voice startles her, revealing he lost his job due to the lack of a warrant on that day. This loss only intensifies his determination to thwart whatever sinister goals Victor Frankenstein may have. In the castle, Finnegan assists Victor in hoisting up the cage containing the lifeless Prometheus, just as Igor and Turpin reach the tower. Lightning strikes the body shortly before a tense moment, and to Victor and Finnegan's delight, Prometheus comes to life. However, their joy is short-lived as Turpin, vehemently quoting Bible verses, threatens to shoot the creature. The storm intensifies, striking the tower with lightning and causing a massive explosion. Finnegan and part of Victor's equipment go down in flames. Amidst the chaos, Victor and Turpin, engrossed in their confrontation, fail to notice the empty cage until Igor screams, pointing at Prometheus. Victor's excitement turns to despair as he realizes the truth. A collection of organs and tissues incapable of functioning as a person, essentially a very unintelligent giant. Despite his lack of intellect, Prometheus reacts unfavorably when Turpin continues shooting. The creature casually tosses Victor's father over the edge and goes after the inspector. Igor, mixing up lore with Dracula, grabs a stake, which surprisingly works. Victor reminds him of the second heart, and Igor takes care of it. When our hero wakes up, the beautiful Lorelei is by his side, delivering a letter from Victor that serves as a lengthy apology. And that's the end.